Welcome back to Studio 5. Valentine's Day is a great occasion to get a fresh start with your spouse. Rediscover the magic in your relationship by overcoming what my next guest calls the Bermuda Triangle of marriage. Studio 5 relationship coach Dr. Matt Townsend is joining me. We're trying to keep him alive here.
Yeah.
A little under the weather. I'm sorry about
that.
That's
okay. It's all right.
Shoot.
I shouldn't eat gum off the bottom of a table.
You and Bob Costas. Pull it together, you broadcasters. All right, the Bermuda Triangle of marriage. What's that?
Here's the deal. Research, now that we're actually finally able to figure out what love is. And there's some awesome research by a woman named Dr. Sue Johnson, and she's finding out that every human being in your DNA is a need to belong and to feel loved. And the need to belong made it so that historically you would always survive because you would always belong to groups.
This is men, women, this is everyone
Every
has that
human
need.
being. So part of the need to love is to know that you are safe and you belong somewhere and you belong with somebody. So that's gone on to our parents. We needed to have a really strong attachment with our parents, and we need to have a strong attachment with someone we love. Now, when we don't have that attachment, it starts to create fear. It starts to create shame. It starts to create blaming, which is what I call this triangle, the Bermuda Triangle. This is where we lose the magic, and what ends up happening is when we're afraid, we go silent. When we are ashamed, we become secret. And when we start blaming, we start judging. So judging, silence, and secrecy are what make us lose the love in marriage, even though it's the thing we most want.
And do those three things kind of perpetuate themselves, meaning you get caught up in that triangle and it's hard to know how to break out?
That's right. So think of that. Think about just anybody you love. If all of a sudden you feel like they might reject you if you became and showed them who you really were. If I really opened up and showed you what I really think and feel sometimes, or that I'm not always strong enough to be the man that provides and is all that, if I shared that with you and you don't receive it well, then all of a sudden I will never be open to you again. And one of the things they're finding out is a lot of men, all the women want their husbands to open up and be real.
To talk, to share.
But the minute we are real and share with you how scared we are sometimes, a lot of times women don't receive it so well. It scares them to death. So then fear starts to perpetuate. So this is what my whole date night is on this Saturday or Friday night. It's about how we fix this triangle, and there's 3 keys to fixing the triangle, right?
Okay, give us a sneak peek if you will.
We have to have a commitment to being connected. We have to care more about having a connection than blaming, fearing, or shaming. And that's hard. We have to say, I'm going to go to connect with my wife. I'm going to actually be real, be present, and I'm going to say something that she may not like, instead of blaming her for my problems or fearing and being secretive.
Can I ask you, do most couples, do most individuals even in a relationship recognize that they're feeling fear, or does it manifest itself in like anger and contention and stress?
Exactly. So think of that, or avoidance. So we start avoiding each other. If you have someone in your marriage or your relationship that tends to blow up a lot, that could be shame. That could be, I mean, it's not like we're sitting there terrified, but it's a simple feeling that I'm afraid I'll be rejected if my wife really knew what I was doing. So I'm going to keep that a secret. And I mean, I've even done it just drinking Diet Coke, because my wife Marty doesn't love it when I drink Diet Coke, and it always ends up being like $1.50 in her mind. It's just of wasted fluids. And so anyway, I might sometimes take that idea and just keep it secretive, and not tell her how much I'm actually spending. Now that little secret doesn't seem like a big deal, except compound that with all of the things she doesn't really know. It starts to add up. But that's not an affair. That's just me no longer connecting and being completely open.
So the desire to connect is what helps you overcome that, essentially.
And understanding that humans have to connect. And so I would need to have more of a need to connect than it is a need to fear or run or shame.
You talk a lot about this need to be in a relationship, and you say that's one way to break out of the Bermuda Triangle of marriage.
You got to be in. You got to have the courage to be in the relationship, the courage to be in the conversation.
Now you say courage. Why does it take courage?
Well, because think of that. Like if I'm about to share with my wife what I'm really thinking, a lot of us don't share what we're really thinking, and then we just are mad later that she still wanted me to do whatever. But I never honestly told her what I felt. And I don't want to tell her because I don't want to be rejected. It takes courage to be in a commitment or a covenant. It takes courage to risk. I mean, what if all of a sudden you love somebody profoundly and deeply and they don't love you back? That takes courage. So what most of us do, inevitably, we just quit showing the courage, and we kind of go silent in our relationships. And a lot of marriages have 2 people that are silent. Now we're married, and we'll never divorce. We just never connect. We're never connecting, and we don't have the courage to do it. So one of the fixes to secrecy and silence is you've got to have more courage to say what needs to be said, and, by the way, the courage to hear what your partner's saying. Do you have the courage to hear that your partner's afraid? Do you have the courage to hear that your partner's having a horrible day and to not try to fix it? To just hear it and just to understand it and just to accept it and love her for her hard day.
As you've described over the years being in a relationship, my mind always goes to almost a mental game of sorts. Like you are mentally committing, right? Because so often we think of a commitment as a physical, I'm in. This is almost a mind game with yourself that you've got to be in the moment and allow yourself to be there.
I actually think being in matters more than feeling love. See, we think marriage is about feeling, oh, I feel so loved.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's not. It's about being in a commitment. Sometimes I'm in a commitment even though I don't feel it. Sometimes I am in to taking care of my kids in the middle of the night when they're sick, even though I don't feel like getting out of bed to do that. So being in is a mental commitment, but it's also, it demands a ton of courage so that you can't just go to fear, and you can't go to shaming, and you can't go to blaming. All of our defaults that end up sucking the magic out of it.
What's the third piece of advice?
Third and final is compassion. So watch, if I have courage and compassion, then I'll have the courage to say what needs to be said, but I'll say it in a way that's more compassionate. A compassionate person also doesn't beat themselves up. They don't make it feel like that they're the cause of all of the problems in their life. A compassionate person also sees that their partner's trying the best they can. It's me, instead of me feeling like a failure because my wife's having a bad day, I just, with courage and compassion, sit there and listen to what she has to say and love her and not critique her and not blame her and not think she's crazy or can't do it. I just sit there and allow my feelings and emotions that want to fix it and jump to just pass.
But you also threw in the word consistent compassion, meaning it's something you've got to keep up over time, right? Once a week isn't going to cut it.
It's 15 times a day. 15 times a day when you get home and you're tired and your spouse says, hey, we've got scouts tonight, the blue and gold banquet. Do you want to go to the blue and gold banquet? And you're like, I hate those colors.
You're not speaking from personal experience.
And that's actually tonight.
Yeah, okay.
And I've got a cold. But so it takes compassion, and it's 1,000 times a day. Now notice, when I have compassion for myself, I don't have to be so blaming and shaming of myself. I can recognize that I can make mistakes.
Yeah.
I can also recognize my wife can make mistakes. And when those things all come together, even a little bit here, a little bit there, we're more courageous, we're more consistent, we're more connecting, we're more compassionate, boom, all of a sudden magic appears.
This is just an ever so small taste of what people can get on Friday night at your date night. Please get better.
This is so huge. I will be better. My lungs will be full. Friday, 7:30, go to matttownsend.com, get tickets.
There are still
Bring
tickets
your
available.
Friends. Yes, there's still tickets. It's at Olympus High School. February, this is Valentine's Day, 7 to 9:30. Tons of fun. We're going to have a magician.
Ooh.
Yes. Who's going to do magical tricks.
That's not me, is it?
No, but we are going to saw you in half.
Okay.
So anybody that wants to see Brooke sawed in half,
we'll be there. We're excited. That won't be happening, but the studio's 5 staff will be on scene giving away tickets. On scene, that sounded like a crime.
Yeah, it's like a crime scene. It may be a crime scene.
We'll be on site giving away tickets, and I'm giving away prizes, and we can't wait. So get your tickets.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Brooke.
Feel better.
You bet.
All right, she is a Utah gal who became food famous with her show on the Cooking Channel. I'm heading to the kitchen to catch up with Kelsey Nixon next.